And I want to say thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey. Now, today we have so many things to talk about. So for that matter, I am not going to spend too much time, talking about, things that you know about already. So we go straight up to the point where we go and talk. Oh my God, have mercy. Now, top on the agenda, oh my God, have mercy, is this. Now, a couple of days ago, you started hearing about some rap people who diss each other, and for that matter, problems started coming out from nowhere, and then there were some interviews here and there, names were mentioned, and the whole thing became murky. I don't need to go through all that, but Sarkodie released a song which many people in Ghana believe was a diss song, a song that he did in reply to Asem and a few other people. My brother, my sister, it got people talking. Now, Shatta Wale was interviewed on TV. And in this interview, which I took my time to listen, and he did it via Skype, Shatta Wale, as usual, went straight to the point, mentioned some names here and there, and I think that is worth talking, especially that the youth are concerned, and especially that a lot of people were not around in the days mentioned in that interview. My brother, my sister, Shatta Wale mentioned in that interview that Sarkodie has been disrespectful for some time now, and he does not think that in these times of the coronavirus, anything like a diss song should come out at all. And for that matter, he got so angry that he said on live TV that anywhere he meets Sarkodie, he's going to pull out his belt and beat him like his little child. That's one. Number two, he also said that rap music has not helped Ghana in any way. It's never made any impact. The so-called hip life never made any impact. That is why Reggie Rockstone himself knows that he's never made any impact, according to what Bandana, aka Shatta Wale, said. Now, my brother, my sister, Reggie Rockstone, aka the grandpapa, decided to respond. And I've never seen this man, Reggie Rockstone, come so down to earth and so unmincingly clear, so unambiguously clear. Now I can tell from what I see from afar that Reggie Rockstone is a man who was a lot of respect for Shatta Wale. In fact, Shatta Wale has said time and again that hip life has never been beneficial to the history of this country. And he also went to the point that hip life is even dead. He said it time and again, but Reggie Rockstone never responded. I know that some other people made such assumptions some time ago, and quickly Reggie Rockstone responded. So I could just say that Reggie Rockstone was probably trying to call Shatta Wale on phone privately to tell him that, listen, bros, I work so hard with this hip life thing, and I don't expect that you'll come out and be saying that it is dead, and at the same time say that it never made any impact. But this time around, I think that it hits the jugular vein of the grandpapa. And honestly, I sympathize with Reggie Rockstone when I listened to him and watched him on YouTube talking and trying to explain how hip life has impacted on the people of this country. In fact, Reggie Rockstone came down to the ground, and I liked how he interacted with his daughter. At the beginning of that video or that broadcast, the daughter came in trying to interrupt. Mama says that Mama is telling us a story about Hila Lima. I said, yes, that's your grandpapa. Now I am telling a story about your uncle Shatta Wale. He said some things that I need to talk about. So you go back to Mama and continue the story, but get me my cup. That's how Reggie Rockstone started the whole thing. And you could see that the whole thing was not planned. Like his daughter, it wasn't planned that the daughter should come and interrupt him. You could see that he was taken unawares, but he was able to deal with the situation. Reggie Rockstone is not a little boy. Reggie Rockstone is past 55, if I'm not wrong. Reggie Rockstone, I saw Reggie Rockstone when he first came into this country with his hiplife. My brother, my sister, with the help of other people like Zap Mallet and Rab Bakari, we've told this history over and over. My brother, my sister, hiplife was the biggest single thing in the development of the contemporary music of this country, like Reggie Rockstone or loathed him. I was never a very big fan of hiplife for personal reasons. You know why? Because it came to silence reggae music, albeit temporarily, and I was a reggae artist. I grew up in those days when Reggie Rockstone came with his short dreadlocks, very handsome and slanging. Hiplife became the biggest thing, the biggest movement in Ghana. So when I hear people like Shatta Wale say, oh, and yes, hiplife never impacted, then I wonder, were you living on Mars? Or were you living on the Venus? Or Jupiter? Let us give credit where credit is due. Reggie Rockstone might not be my personal friend, but whenever we meet, we say, hi, let history be told, and let history make the most noise. My brother, my sister, hiplife was the biggest thing, the biggest movement in the history of this country. I wasn't there when high life started, but I do believe that at the time, I was alive and I saw it, and I'm still alive to tell you this story. My brother, my sister, hiplife employed a lot of people who would have hitherto been riffraffs and hoodlums. I remember when a minister of state made a mistake and even condemned hiplife. VIP had to go on TV and radio to tell this minister and to appeal to the people of Ghana that, listen, had it not been hiplife, some of us would have been on the streets stealing or begging. Hiplife became the biggest movement, and if you were not doing hiplife, forget it. Nobody was ready to do anything with you. So for Bandana to say that, yes, hiplife impacted nothing on this country, that's a big fallacy, and I'm really sad to say that. Listen, it's not easy to invent something. As an historian, I tell you that it's not easy, my brother, my sister, to invent something. Of course, there was rap before Reggie Rockstone. There was even rap in Ghana before Reggie Rockstone. But Reggie Rockstone did not say he invented rap. He said he brought hiplife, coined that name, and he brought it up. And he had a certain kind of definition, combination of high life and hiplife. Now, before Reggie Rockstone, there was this guy that I used to like so much. And when I was at a university, first year university, in fact, his songs were so popular on radio, and he never called his kind of music hiplife. This guy just died 4 days ago, and it's called Mahoney P. Mahoney P released his first album in 1994, and he called it High Life in Gangsterdam. Because he lived in Amsterdam, but he called himself a gangster. So Mahoney P called his album in 1994 High Life in Gangsterdam. Of course, he was talking about high life, and rap is the same thing called hiplife now. High life and rap brought together, or hip hop. But he never called it hiplife. Reggie Rockstone gave it that branding. He made it move forward. Listen to Mahoney P in 1994 with Ebeye. 1994. We remember when Mahoney P did the rap and all that, but he never branded it as hip life. That's why Mahoney P never challenged Reggie Rockstone when he came out with hip life. Reggie Rockstone never said he rapped earlier than anybody. All he said was that he brought hip life. And he said it time and again. Now hip life has been written in the name of Reggie Rockstone. Let the man keep his legacy and show the man some respect. In fact, even in my days, when we all were struggling with the reggae music and the dancehall and were not able to make any headway because the biggest obstruction at that time, or better still the biggest hurdle, was hip life. Some reggae artists, some dancehall artists by force became hip life artists. And I can tell you that. Some natural reggae and dancehall artists became hip life artists, like TH for Quadges, like SAS Squad, and a lot of them. Fifi Silla himself was a reggae dancehall artist, but in those days they were doing the hip life because that was what was on, waiting for reggae to come up again so that they could latch to it. And even my good friend Bandana at that time was doing some hip life.
Bandana from Ghana, African big fan, send me out there, Bramesa. She still Bandana from Ghana, African big fan, send me out there, Bramesa. She still
Bandana. I let your bodo, yabla, but we, mommy. And a boo, you know, I'm
Well, he calls it rag life, but this is hip life. This is no ragga. This is no ragga. This is hip life. So, brethren, now the purpose of this is very simple. Let us keep history straight. Let us respect those who kept the gates for us to pass through. I never did hip life, never. But I respect those who started it. It paved the way for so many different people. It made money for some of the youth who would have been hoodlums and thieves. It was able to put us on the map. Now, when you go up to research the music in Ghana, you will never finish if you don't see hip life. So, my brother, Shatta Wale, I talk to you straight up as a brethren. We might not be the best of friends, but we are still not enemies. You know that. Listen, show respect to the old man. He is agreed, handsome as he is, nice and strong, still has his 6 packs, still calls himself the grandpapa. He brought us something that took some kind of boredom away from us. He brought a certain movement, and if you were not part of the movement, in fact, then you were totally squared. Same way. You came with a dancehall, but there were people who did the dancehall before you, but you made it bigger. Imagine some small boy coming up 15, 20 years later to say that you did nothing and you created no impact and that you were just dissing and insulting people all over. I'm sure that you wouldn't like it. Let truth be told. Love and respect to Reggie Rockstone. I know you have so much respect for Shatta Wale, but of course, the way he approached you in his response, leaves so much to be desired. Yes, some very unpalatable words, like you have made no impact, you have no money, you have nothing. All you have, your impact is the watcher that you sell at your place. Oh, please, you can be more respectful than that. Disrespect that would only make you trend for a couple of days. and right after that, you get nothing from it. Reggie Rockstone was signed by MTN as a legend, blah, blah, blah. Remember those times? Guinness signed him on. And even when Glow came, they signed him on and gave him so much cash. My brother, my sister, MTN took him on, Glow took him on, Guinness, big, big brands that some of us are even still struggling to smell a little of. Show respect. He's built a whole story building right there where he has his bar and that's his nightclub and thing. He's done well for himself. If he lives in his father's house, it's nothing. It's nothing. If my father has a house and he dies and leaves it and nobody's in it, do I still go build a house in the name of building a house? Please, let's show some respect. I do understand that, yes, people are contributing, others are fighting some people, but we got to be careful the way we speak to the people who paved the way for us. And you say he never paves the way for you. If he didn't, that was Hip Life I just played. Mokoho, it's nothing but Hip Life. That was your biggest hit, your first hit. Respect Hip Life. That is very Ghanaian. Very, very Ghanaian. The dancehall that we are doing is not Ghanaian. Now that we are even trying to beg you to change the name and give it something else and add some local instruments to that. No, rather you shifted from dancehall to Afrobeat. Any which way. The name Blakk Rasta, and we're still talking. I have two more things to discuss. Thank you so much for Hip Life. We will continue to respect you and to love you. Of course, when we need to talk, we will talk. I know that you've shown Bandana, Shatta Wale, a lot of love and respect in the past, and you still do. Now, those of you who watch the video, you realize that at the end of the video, he called his daughter, who came passing by again, come and say bye-bye to Uncle Shatta Wale, your Uncle Shatta Wale. Did you see what the little girl did? The little girl said, bye, and ran away. Said, no, come, that was too fast. Come and say bye to your Uncle Shatta Wale. And then she said, and ran away. See? What has the little girl been hearing? I don't want to draw an innocent person into this. But I think that Shatta Wale, please do apologize to the grandpapa. He means so much good. In fact, he's never hated you. He's always loved you. And he's been so careful when he's talking about you. In fact, you are the only one the grandpapa gets so careful talking about. The other day that he caught me, he said so many things about me. He didn't really care about that. Well, he was quite careful. But with you, he's extremely careful. Time to apologize to him. He did not deserve all those nasty words that you said against him. And those things will not help our industry. Not at all. It won't help us. Not at all. Not at all. This will not help us. And we need to know that.
Bandana from Ghana, African fan, send me out of Ramesa. She's still bandana from Ghana, African fan, send me out of Ramesa. She's still
Bandana. Fire. Ale chopodo. Yabla.
Okay, so I want to talk about another thing. But let me just wind up on this in just 5 seconds. And as to beating up Sarkodie anywhere you meet him, hey, Uncle, if everybody was to beat somebody because they angered them, I don't think you would have been alive by now. I don't think I would have been alive either. If people annoy us and we meet them and beat them up, I'm sure you have annoyed billions of people across the world. I am sure. I have also annoyed billions, trillions of people around the world. We all annoying people. And if we got to go out and beat up people who annoy us, we will be left with no arms anymore. We will be beaten until we are torn into pieces. To God be the glory. Okay. Now, you all heard about the Kaya issue, where they carried some Kaya people were trying to leave the lockdown. And then the vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, decided to give out some 500 Ghana cedis to each one of them. Now, what I'm hearing is that those Kaya people were brought back to Accra, and then they were quarantined, and they are still in a lockdown. They are being fed, and after that, they will release them to the market again to do Kaya. Honorable Vice President, love and respect. But I was thinking the other way, it's good that you gave them money. But I am still wondering, why did they have to come back to Accra and be quarantined? Could they not have been quarantined wherever they were? Because they had traveled a long distance. Did they have to be brought back in order to be quarantined? And when they were quarantined, did we think about the fact that if we had quarantined them wherever they were, to find out whether they were sick or not, and right after the lockdown, maybe we should release them to go back to Wale. Maybe they are tired with this Kaya thing. Maybe other job opportunities could have opened up for them. Maybe some farming, maybe something else. But to bring them back, house them, and after that, release them onto the streets again. Oh my God. Could it not have been better for the Ministry of Gender and blah, 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 to even follow them up to their homes in Wale, to find out what kind of homes they come from? Time to build a certain dossier. Maybe they could even help them do things. Find out from them. Now that you are back home, what do you intend to do? Can we support? Rather than giving them 500 Ghana cedis, which is good, housing them, or better still locking them down, and releasing them to the streets again. Let's think about that carefully. Maybe they are going home. Could have just been a good omen for the people back at Wale. Maybe they could have done some farming. Maybe they could have done some basket weaving. Maybe they came here and they were able to pick up a few things and they are ready to go back home and do things. If they were running away from the lockdown and you still decided to lock them down and release them after the lockdown to the streets, we probably need to think twice. Find a way of building a dossier. Why don't we care about our people like this? Vice President has done well. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. But I'm talking about the Ministry of Gender. Could we have followed these ladies back to wherever they came from to find out what kind of homes they came from and what their plans are for the future? Maybe they just want to do something. Maybe we could have supported them to do something else rather than running back onto the streets again as a way of encouraging streetism. Think about it, oh. Think about it. The more you take these ladies off the streets, the more you cure streetism. Kaya here is not helping anybody in this country. The load that they carry and give them 50 pesos and 1 Ghana, you think you are helping anybody? You are congesting the streets, and that is streetism. No country ever benefits from streetism. You make 1 cedi, you get pregnant the next day. You will spend more than the 1 cedi that you got in order to take care of the pregnancy. Some of them drink very dangerous chemicals just to get rid of pregnancies, and a lot of them are raped every now and then. What kind of work is this that you want to bring them back from running away from a lockdown to lock them down street still and release them onto the streets? Think about it. I just want to let it hang like this. Now, I want to thank Mr. President and the people of Ghana. You remember when I talked about this water issue? When according to the graphic, they said that when you owe water bill, you will not be allowed to enjoy the free water that the president said he was giving. Well, it's been announced again that now all these people can enjoy. But who took the first decision? Did the person think about that decision well? What kind of leaders do we have that just take knee-jerk reactions, ad hoc views of things? Anyway, it's been overturned, and for that reason, I won't go too much into it. Now, have you heard about some free food that the president wants to give? 400,000 plates of food a day, I'm told. Or better still, 400,000 people to be fed. And now there is a number, a toll-free number, that the government of Ghana has released for people who are hungry to call. Have you seen that number yet? Have you seen it? Are you aware of that number? Today when I woke up in the morning, I decided to call the number and find out who is on the other side of the number. For the 2 hours that I sat down calling, it was overly engaged. Now, this is a mockery. This is a mockery of free feeding. Ebe, 30 million people in Ghana. There's only 1 phone line. Only 1 phone line. Do you know how many hungry people we have in Ghana? When there's no disaster, do you know the number of hungry people? Let alone there's a disaster. It's a good thing the government is doing. Let me not criticize that. But, hey, my brother, my sister, I'm looking at the other side. It's not only hungry people who are calling. There are some people who are well fed, but they are greedy. Should I just juxtapose that with the Get Fund? Do you remember the Get Fund thing, where people were supposed to be poor yet brilliant in order to be able to access the Get Fund thing? But we had ministers of state, Ajua Safo, we had General Mosquito's son, and some other people who the society will consider as not poor, who benefited from all these things. We had people of rich children, rich people's children benefiting from this. So in Ghana, when you are talking about privileges and so on and so forth, forget it. It won't work. You give a number out that is for poor people, you'll be shocked that Dangote of Ghana himself will call. The Dangote of Ghana would call. The Bill Gates of Ghana would call. Oh, I need some rice in my house. Can you bring me 2 bags of rice? Greedy people. Dangerously greedy people in this country. If this was in the UK, that line will never be engaged. Anytime you call it, it goes through. If this was in America, it will go through. If this was in Australia, it will go through. If this was in Germany, it will go through. But not Nigeria, not Ghana. Forget it. Greedy bastards are ready to eat what is meant for poor people. Greedy bastards are ready to box out the food out of the mouths of poor people. So, Mr. President, that number is nothing but a hoax. That number that was given out is nothing but a mirage. Any which way, I want to thank you. I want to honor you. Thank you so much for coming along with me. I'm going to discuss the rest of this in the African history class. I think it's worth it. We will go in there and deal with it. But in the interim, stay away from the dangerous virus. Stay away from it. Now, are you aware that the president of Liberia, George Weah, is a reggae musician? Are you aware? Or am I telling you that for the first time? Are you aware that the president of Liberia has released a song on the coronavirus? Are you aware? Are you aware? All right, that's the purpose of this show.